The U.S. jobs picture has been one of the major talking points of the presidential campaign. So after the disappointing payroll number for August, how will both sides spin the news? For more, I'm joined by Gary Burtless, Senior Fellow of Economic Studies at Brookings Institution. Gary, this month's number doesn't look very good on the surface. So how does the president spin this, given the dedication to job creation he proffered in last night's address?
Well, I presume he's going to emphasize the fact that there has been 30 months of private job creation that have added about 4.6 million jobs. A lot of the weakness in the last year has been in government employment, and of course he had urged policies that would help state and local governments keep up their employment numbers. He's been frustrated in that wish by the Republican opposition. So he can take credit for lots of months in a row in which the private sector has been creating jobs and point to the opposition party's obstructionism in limiting the improvement because public sector employment growth has been so terrible. In fact, it's been negative.
Generally, are voters receptive to that sort of argument? Don't look at what's happening now. Think about what's happened leading up to this point. Does that work?
Well, fundamentally, the president has a tough position to make. He can make the case, and I think a lot of economists would accept this, that the policies that the government took, both monetary policies and fiscal policies, in the early months of the administration did make a difference in changing the direction of the economy from near collapse to growth. But I think most people will just ask, well, how good is the situation right now? And relative to the situation in 2006 and 2007, it's still not very good. Most Americans have seen losses in wealth because their house is worth less, and they have struggled to see any pay increases. And of course, there are almost 13 million unemployed workers.
So is the burden greater now on Obama, who's got to convince voters the economy is on the mend, it's just taking some time, or is it on Romney, who's got to convince them he's got the magic wand that's going to improve all this?
I think it's a near-run thing, really. I think that the country is evenly divided about the merits of re-electing the president. And probably most people hold the view because they have faith in one candidate or the other. It's the middle, 15 or 20% of the electorate, that is probably most sensitive to the state of the economy. They might not know much about why the economy is where it is, and the question that they face is, should I dismiss the guy who has been around for 4 years and put someone else in his place, or do I have greater faith that the incumbent is leading us out of this terrible job market?
So we've talked about how the candidates should react to this one number. What has to happen between now and the election on the economic dialogue from both of them? We will have another jobs report for voters to consider. Can the election really be turned on a dime? For instance, if next month's report is really bad or really good, can that swing it?
I don't think so, really. It may have a marginal effect on some of the voters, but a lot of voters are judging the economy by their own economic situation, not by what these statistics tell us about the course of the economy. The statistics are shedding light on the economic reality facing lots of Americans, including all of those Americans who seem to have dropped out of the workforce in the last 2 or 3 months, probably because they're discouraged about their prospects of getting a job in the current labor market. I don't think that the numbers published by the BLS are going to change very many voters' minds. They will affect the views of a few people.
That middle 15 to 20% you spoke of, do we know from past elections how quickly they make up their mind? In other words, are these people that will go in to the voting booth on election day and say, you know, I feel this way today, and that's it?
Well, some elections we've been able to predict well in advance because an incumbent has such a strong economy. And that fact is very plain in the spring before the election. The economy is growing strongly, and there's every reason to think that the current progress in the economy is how the electorate is going to judge the incumbent president, and the challenger doesn't have much of a chance. I think the current labor market is one in which we're making progress. The labor market has been slowly improving, not every month, and it certainly didn't improve very much at all in August. But over the last 3 years, there really has been improvement. Private sector companies are adding to their payrolls. Wages are not tumbling. Workers are better off than they were a couple of years ago, and more of them hold jobs. But it's just very slow progress. And so I think we're very near the cusp of where a majority of people might tell the incumbent, look for another job.
Our thanks to Brookings' Gary Burtless. I'm Rhonda Schaffler. This is Reuters.